Calling Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes a demo would be easy and incredibly dismissive. The Phantom Pain, the actual Metal Gear Solid 5, is, according to Kojima, at least a year or so from being completed. We've waited since 2008 to Metal Gear it up again. That's a long time to wait between releases. The patience needed to play a stealth game is different than the patience needed to actually wait for the stealth game to come out, especially one in such a coveted franchise. Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes is the stopgap, half-price prologue to the Phantom Pain. The prologue pain, if you will. Although it isn't a full-price game or a 20-hour epic, is Ground Zeroes as naked as the snake that it stars? Let's find out in this video review for Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes.
Kept you waiting, huh?
Ground Zeroes plops Big Boss in a pretty sizable base, one that is bigger than any single loaded area in the franchise. Loading screens are absent and the base is wide enough to facilitate many different paths and strategies. While the franchise has flirted with open areas in the past, this feels like the first step towards something much bigger. Sprawling areas drastically change the sneaking options, making Ground Zeroes one of the most liberating stealth games out there. Choosing your own approach is the obvious result of a more open area, but the enemy intelligence lets the game feel far more dynamic. Guards still have some sort of a path that they navigate, but they don't feel chained to that specific footstep trail. Less predictability lets each mission retain its freshness far past the usual 1 or 2 playthroughs. Each mission can be considered as short, but they come with the saving grace of being highly replayable. Enemies have also seemed to put on their glasses in this installment. You know what I mean. In just about every stealth game imaginable, there's almost an unspoken amount of blindness that the enemies have in order to make the game still playable. That's not so true here. Ground Zeroes' guards can easily spot you in realistic ways, such as if you are above them, below them, or running around like a madman. When they do spot you, they'll communicate and try to do more than just stand around and look important. Improved AI forces you to be a better ninja and slowly chips away at the notion that video game guards always have a stiff neck and a mild case of glaucoma. Tiptoeing around is much more difficult, but it's balanced out by the satisfaction of achieving that elusive, perfect run. It can be a little overwhelming at times since they can spot you in some really obscure places, but this realistic approach is a good sign for the genre as a whole. Snake, despite his age, has some new tricks to combat his foes' newly acquired metaphorical glasses with a visual aid of his own. Enemies can now be tagged via binoculars, meaning you can keep tabs on them through walls. It's harder to get surprised this way and modernizes the way in which a snake sneaks. When you inevitably get caught, time will slow and allow Snake to line up a shot on the guard that is on the verge of triggering the alarm, given that you can counteract the stupid bullet drop. If you miss or fail to react in time, the alarm is somehow instantly triggered. While it is nonsensical and pretty stupid for the entire base to know your exact location a mere second or two after one dude has seen you, at least there is an option to try to defuse the situation. If you scorn at this quote-unquote casual mechanic, it can be turned off in the options, giving you a score bonus at the tally screen. Controlling Big Boss has also been improved. Metal Gear Solid 4 overhauled the entire control system, not only making the stealth more satisfying, but also lending a more friendly hand to other playstyles. Ground Zeroes improves the control too, although to a finer degree. Snake is smoother this time around, sliding silkily from crouch to crawl and vice versa. Movement and shooting have incremental improvements all around that not only look better, but allow for a game that plays more smoothly as a result. Pressing triangle to enter cover worked extremely well in MGS4, but the automatic cover system here works better than it should. Control-wise, Ground Zeroes maintains the forward momentum and innovation for the series. The story, however, doesn't oblige in moving forward. For starters, if you miss Peace Walker, then you're gonna have to dive into a wiki to understand who a few of the characters are and why they matter. Even if Peace Walker's plot stuck with you, Ground Zeroes doesn't know what to do with what it has. After a brief intro sequence teasing a mysterious new villain, Snake and Kaz exchange a few lines that boil down to the mission: extract Chico and Paz from this base. The final cutscene is the only other story meat, which sets up an incredible intro for the Phantom Pain, but doesn't necessarily make for the best ending in Ground Zeroes. It feels odd to fully judge the story here since it isn't attached to the Phantom Pain yet, but as it stands, Ground Zeroes' brevity doesn't allow it to be satisfying in its own right. A full sprint needs time to build up, and Ground Zeroes isn't given the sufficient space to do so. In sort of a roundabout way, this is how the side missions excel. They don't need any narrative justification to push the player forward. Breezing through the main mission opens up a slew of side ops. The time of day and unique patrol routes change up how you play and further stretch the malleability of the mission structure. The same area can only be played through so many times, but Ground Zeroes' ability to take the same real estate and get the most mileage out of it is quite impressive. And all of this looks incredible too. Realistic lighting spreads over every surface, water effects make everything look wet, and the pure attention to detail given to objects is twice as appealing once you factor in their physics. Fluid animation looks smooth and faces move more convincingly thanks to the facial capture used on the actors. All of these simple effects come together and ensure Ground Zeroes never looks anything but phenomenal. Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes gives us a promising glimpse of the next iteration of Metal Gear Solid. There's not really any doubt about that. However, if you're not the kind of person who wants to replay these missions over and over for S ranks and search every inch of the base, it's really hard to recommend Ground Zeroes at $30 despite its quality. It's because of this quality though that makes Ground Zeroes so easy to recommend to the people who want to squeeze the most out of it. Ground Zeroes is a solid example that it isn't about the length of the snake that matters, it's all about the way in which you use it. Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes gets an 8.5 out of 10. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. I will see you next time.
They played us like a damn fiddle! Damn fiddle! Damn fiddle! Damn, 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 damn fiddle! Fiddle, 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 fiddle!